Hello everyone. So today I thought I'd do a YouTube video on emotionally based school avoidance, EBSA, also known as. This is something that I've always actually supported young people with for years, but it's becoming an increasing issue, persistent absence, based on emotional needs or emotional demands, sometimes caused by anxiety, sometimes caused by a lot of other factors, sometimes caused by special educational needs that are unmet. So it's a complex dynamic process, emotionally based school avoidance. And obviously the more a young person or a child avoids school, the worse it gets and the harder it is for them to get back in. So what we want to be doing is intervene early and prevent that from happening. So in this video I'm going to be talking about a whole school approach to EBSA rather than a one-to-one individual approach. I'm going to do a video coming up soon on how coaching can help emotionally based school avoidance, and I actually have a case study from a lady who I've trained in coaching, who's a nurse and practitioner who works with young people who are school avoiders, and how much coaching integrated with her approach is helping the young person engage in school. So what causes emotionally based school avoidance? It's a push-pull dynamic where the child or the young person feels the pull away to home is safer than the push towards school. So there's a number of factors that are associated based on research. And a number of functions that emotionally based school avoidance serves. So function one is to avoid the uncomfortable feelings brought by attending school. That might include anxiety or low mood. So I feel bad when I go to school. I don't like that feeling. So I'm not going to go. I know how to get rid of that feeling. I just won't go. Because if I don't go, I don't feel that feeling. This is all an unconscious process. And the more they don't go, the more they don't feel the feeling. It's working. So helping young people to move through experiencing that discomfort and that horrible feeling is actually what we need to do. Unfortunately, the only way through this, to get over this, is through it. And that's what can be really difficult for parents and staff who are supporting emotional based school avoidance, is to be in the discomfort with the child or the young person. So able to work on our resilience and our ability to cope with discomfort in order to support the child access the resources to navigate and go through those discomfort feelings to get back into school. The function two is avoid situations that might be stressful. So they're just avoiding pressures such as academic demands, social pressures, and aspects of school environment. For some young people who are have sensory needs, for whatever reason, it might be too bright, it might be too loud, it might be too noisy and too bustly, and people might be bumping into them, and they or they feel that they're going to get lost, or they don't know where to go, or they don't like the smell of it, or it feels weird there, or whatever. So there's lots of different reasons why a young person might be avoiding the stress and the feeling of being in school. And so asking them, how do you feel about school? Like, what are the things that are preventing you from going in there? What are the barriers to you coming in? How do you feel? How do you think? What about it? So you could unpack that and unpick it a little bit more, is just one step in understanding the needs of young people. The third function is to reduce separation anxiety from a parent or family members. Especially in young carers, they can become school avoiders because they're worried about their parent even dying when they're not at home, or that their parent might do something drastic, or the parent might forget to take their medication, or they might have a fall, or they might be lonely without them, so they might avoid coming into school because they are worried about letting the parent fend for themselves. They might have been parentified themselves as a child. It might not just be a young carer, it might be a young person with a child who's got an alcoholic parent, or a parent that has got mental health needs, and the child doesn't want to be away from the parent, or the child might have attachment needs, and they hate the feeling of being away from the parent because they think unconsciously that parent might be gone. I have to stick with them all the time, because if I don't see them with my eyes, like, they're going to be gone. And then the fourth function is to pursue tangible reinforcers. So outside of school, nice things happen. I can go shopping, I can hang around my mum, I can watch telly all day, I can go on my gaming machines, I can go on my phone and play games. It's a comfort zone, it feels safe, I can be in my room, in my space with my things that I like, and it feels comfortable to me. So it's a dynamic process between all those factors, and what we have to do is support children and young people to identify what the pull dynamics are that are pulling them away from school. EBSA occurs when stress exceeds support, when risks are greater than resilience, and when pull factors that promote school non-attendance overcome push factors that encourage attendance. So not only do you have to reduce the psychological and practical barriers to access, you have to make school a much more pleasant environment for them to be in. And how do we do that? Oh, it sounds so easy. Sounds so easy. Or just make school nicer. But this is a complex adapted system. So school environment is a complex adapted system. There's people in the system, there's processes in the system, it's how it feels as a school environment. It's the intangible things, the way we feel about people in the school and how the interactions in the school and the culture and ethos and the atmosphere, which you can't always like put a finger on. But if you're a highly sensitive child and you're going into that environment and it feels uncomfortable, you can't put your finger on why, you don't know why does it feel uncomfortable. I don't like it here, I don't want to be here, I want to be at home with my mum where I feel safe. You can understand why they don't want to go in. So as a part of so we're going to talk about the individual, working with the individual, in another video. In this video, I'm going to talk about creating a culture and ethos that facilitates a whole school approach to wellbeing. So again, this is part of like senior mental health lead's role to develop a culture and ethos of a whole school approach. I've got other videos, I'm going to link to them above, about a whole school approach and what it is and what you need to do to develop a whole school approach. But an important component of that is an ethos and environment that enables children and young people to flourish. And by flourish, I mean feel good, function well, day to day and overall. And that it's that day-to-day experience of joy, of pride, of aspiration, of interest, of hope. That's what facilitates a child to access school. And what we know from broaden and build theory. So when we increase the experience of positive emotions, like the positive emotions I've just listed, when we experience those positive emotions, we get what's called broaden and build. So broaden and build is sort of a spiraling up of a positive emotion. It's a positive effect, which is the ability to experience positive emotion. And when we experience positive emotion and get positive effects, it opens our thought action repertoires, and we are actually able to find more creative solutions. We feel safer and we can become more resilient and manage stress and navigate all these things, and it has like a compounding effect. So if you can create a culture that facilitates even just one of the positive emotions, pride or joy or hope or gratitude, that's automatically starting to implement a wellbeing culture. Now you're like, oh, that sounds nice. It's a bit difficult because all the staff are leaving and everyone hates it here, and there's behaviour issues and kids are throwing chairs at teachers, and we can't recruit enough people, and people are off of long-term sick, and then we've got to do this policy change and this policy change and blah blah blah. But within the storm of change is your opportunity to leverage well-being. Whoa, what do I mean by that? So what we know for well-being, for flourishing, we need self-determination. So we need what's called self-determination theory. So self-determination theory is three things: autonomy, competence and relatedness. So what we know from EBSA and working with the whole school approach to emotionally based school avoidance is that we need to be developing a relational approach. This is where the relationships and interactions facilitate well-being and help the young person or the child feel safe, and staff. The staff are in this too, and it's the relationships and interactions between the staff and each other and the staff and the children and the pupils that actually facilitates the culture of well-being. The way I think to do that is through a coaching approach, which is certainly a relational approach. So when we do coaching approaches, what we're doing is cultivating a environment of empathy, of trust, of safety, of belonging, of challenge, of perspective, of feedback, of listening, of asking questions, rather than a authoritative, directive, strict approach. Now, I know that there's a load of work going on in schools around behaviour and sort of managing behaviour and developing a culture of well-being and belonging and trust is actually another sort of antidote to behaviour, and it's some of the strict behaviour policies that are causing fear in the children, because they're fearful of getting attention, or they're fearful of getting in trouble. Again, it's a stressor that might make them avoid school. So what working with the culture to understand what is our culture like and what is unattractive about that culture, and why, if I was a child, would I want to come here, and like being really honest with yourselves as a team and sort of saying, well, we can't carry on like this. Like attendance in schools is going to become an increasing priority, and through the new children's wellbeing bill that's coming, there's talk of attendance being like a key and getting them in school, because we know from a mental health and wellbeing perspective that children need good relationships with their peers and good relationship and connectedness to school in order to flourish. Being in school is so important, and then if they get disengaged from school and start to avoid it, it's not only the actual being in school, it's the social interactions, the life skills that they're missing out on learning, and then getting behind, and then because they're getting behind, they're getting more fearful of going in, and it's like this horrible vicious cycle. So the first step is to really look at your policy processes and places and see if there's chance to create a more relational, empathetic, compassionate, trusting environment. If you want help with that, the program that you need to do is join Wellbeing Club. So Wellbeing Club is about a whole school approach to wellbeing using applied positive psychology. So in that program, it's a library of different courses and programs, where one of the courses, specifically called the Senior Mental Health Lead Wellbeing Pathway, is about creating a culture and ethos of wellbeing and the applied positive psychology techniques and theory that you need to understand so that you know how to apply that to your own setting. So my work with schools is very consultancy based and practical, as I want to be able to teach you the nuts and bolts of how to do this yourselves, so you understand what's the right method for your school. Is it empathy? Is it resilience? Is it active listening? Is it trust? Is it resilience? I've said resilience already. Is it positive emotions? Is it a coaching approach, trauma informed, whatever, what's the thing that is going to be the thing that's going to fit your school? But if you understand the theory in more depth about what it is, or what is well-being and what is a positive school ethos, then you can identify where the levers are for you to pull to tweak the stuff that you're already doing in your school to make the change. I think it can feel very overwhelming when I'm saying wishy-washy words like build a culture of empathy, and you're like, well, that sounds ridiculous. How are we ever going to do that? So you need practical, tangible ways of doing that in a culture and climate of huge change and huge volatility that is preventing you from moving forward, feeling stuck and feeling disempowered and feeling like you just don't know what to do. So I've got courses and workshops, and then I also do consultancy drop-in calls every month that you can drop in and ask me questions about your own specific schools, and I can help you with that. I've also got curriculum toolkits for you to create this day-to-day experience of wellbeing by teaching explicit strategies for wellbeing to the children and the young people, as well as how to do targeted interventions to get them back in. I'm going to do a follow-up video about coaching and how coaching can help with emotionally based school avoidance. But the takeaways from this is it's a dynamic process where the individual exists within the system. It isn't just fix the child to make them come back in. It is about understanding what is it about that situation that is making the child avoid it, so that we can reduce all those different complex barriers that are interrelated and interrelate with the system in different ways. Are they practical things that you can do, like a reduced timetable or a card so they can come out of the lesson whenever they want? and calm down, or teaching them regulation strategies or peer-to-peer support or whatever? Or is it working on the culture and ethos to make it more a joyful place to be, so that school kids want to be there? The pull is towards school, and looking at what's going wrong that's making them feel that they can't come in, and really taking a hard look at yourselves and thinking, what can we change, what's actually possible to change, because that's going to have a knock-on effect to staff well-being, staff retention, recruitment, workload, everything. So if you can develop a culture and ethos of well-being for all, then you will see a knock-on effect to reduce attendance issues, because teacher well-being and student well-being are two sides of the same coin. And if you're having a lot of behaviour issues or avoidance issues and absence, it's usually to do with relationships and the ethos and culture in your school. I don't want you to feel like I'm blaming you, because I know how hard it is for schools. I work with over 500 schools. I know how hard it is. And I know that you need help, and I know that you just don't know where to start, or what's going to make a quick win to get some movement forward. So the way to find that out is join Wellbeing Club, check out the page below. I've also got some free taster courses on a whole school approach, and a free webinar on what is a whole school approach. And if you haven't signed up for the D4E's funding for senior mental health lead training, the funding ends in December. You can use that to join Wellbeing Club if you haven't already accessed that funding already, or if you have accessed it and the person's left. So you can still join Wellbeing Club through the D4E funded funding of £1,200. So I'll follow up soon with the video about supporting individuals with emotional based school avoidance rather than a whole school approach. Okay, I'll see you again soon.